Yo, what is up guys? How is everyone doing? Hope you're all having a fantastic day. Everyone asks me to do this intro a little bit slowly, so there you are. I've done it at a pace a little bit slower than usual. Today and yesterday we have had a very big, very fast, violent dump down. I mean, if we look at it in terms of raw percent moves, this has happened over a period of about 36 hours, not even that, it's more like 12 hours. We've had a 14% drop, and let's see how long it took for the equivalent drop back here. So that previously took about 4 days, and what we've seen this time around was just about 12 hours to have the same drop. Absolutely savage in this market. Of course, though, very expected. We do have our rising wedge sort of tool back on and showing us exactly what we were looking at as I zoomed out many times on stream for you guys. I mean, the picture was very clear. We had a rising wedge. There were a few, factors saying perhaps it's not going to be a rising wedge. But of course, like I always say, we're most bullish at the top and most bearish at the bottom. That's just human nature. It did break down violently. I'll admit I was a little bit surprised by how violent it was. I guess in hindsight it was quite clear. The last time we broke down was also very violent, so suppose we could have expected it to be like this as well. And of course we had VPVR telling us that we had huge resistance here, as I've been saying, very big volume resistance here, which of course we weren't able to overcome. Throw on the Ichimoku cloud, and yet again, 1, 2, 3, 4 rejections off the Ichimoku cloud. It doesn't get more clear than this. I mean, we saw this cloud coming. We, of course, like I said, it was a thin cloud, so there were chances we could push higher. But when we consider all of these resistance factors put together, I mean, really, this shouldn't be surprising, right? Because we have been expecting this quite a bit. And, I just want to call out everyone saying that there were Wall Street investors and that kind of a thing. There was actually one very popular tweet that got retweeted a lot. It was clear hopium. And essentially what it was is, there is good news coming out for Bitcoin, and it's going to send us up to 13,000. And, well, what happened to those people? I mean, that's why when we get that kind of a sentiment, you short the market. We're in a downtrend, so what's the easiest game to play? It's shorting the market. And, of course, it has been a tough range for retail traders. Of course, dropping like $1,000 in the space of about 12 hours is a little bit, it's hard, right? But of course, with VIP, we have been smashing it in this range. I mean, we gave the long signals within this rising wedge from the beginning. Anyway, we had a sell signal at about 7,300. A few VIP members also shorted at about 73, and a few also went short on Ethereum. We did have a signal for Ethereum actually, but it missed our entry by about $5, so that was a bit of a shame. But yeah, a couple members did get in on that. So one of our members calling me a king. Sammy is my name, for those of you who can't tell. That's also my Twitter name as well. And then I just found this insane. This guy went 25x leverage on the laddered shorts possible play that I mentioned. 200% ROE just casually like a boss. 25x is way higher than I would have went anyway, but of course, when you're in this group, you retain full autonomy, so you can trade however you like. Thought that was pretty cool. If you guys are interested in VIP, you already know how to join. Go ahead and click the link in the description, t.me/cryptomafia gold, and then click on my name at 4flies at the bottom of every post and message me from there. Now, as for this range we're in right now, we're back into this support range around the $6,000 price area. We're about 6,300, 6,400, floating around there. And it's been a little bit tricky, of course. With this range, we've been testing support so many times. I mean, if we look at volume, I think nothing tells us a clearer picture than the volume right now. Go ahead and bring coin market cap up here. We're up to 18 billion. Just an hour or so ago, we were at about 20 billion. So that was pretty good. Seeing volume pick up with all of these signs. Bitcoin dominance continuing to rise. We're up to about 55%, pushing towards 60. Like I've been saying, I have been expecting this for quite a while. Seeing volume, I think, is the biggest indicator. I actually want to show this in with the CME chart. So if I go ahead and type in Bitcoin here, click on all, and then CME, Bitcoin futures, I did actually post this in gold, and what we did see was volume that was very, very low, followed by volume that was quite high. And with institutional investors, these guys are the ones with, you know, much bigger money than, you know, the sort of the retail, obviously. To see that these are, you know, these people are also confirming this play with very low volume suddenly met with huge volume. It's a very good sign. It's confirming that downwards movement. Obviously, for the health of Bitcoin, they're not great, but you know, when we are looking at this from a trading perspective, what we want is volatility, and we are very much getting exactly that. So yeah, back over to Bitcoin. What can we be seeing right now? Well, like I said, this support area is quite weak. We are just on the edge of VPVR support as well. You guys know how much I love this right now. It's been an absolute killer at predicting the trend. So if I take off my lines and you look at, I don't know if you can make this out on stream, it might not be clear enough, but this sort of very faded orange line, it means the current price that we're at. And if we look at VPVR, it really just drops off at a price, you know, sort of $50 lower than sort of 6,300, 6,250. That's where it drops off, and yeah, I mean, it becomes non-existent below sort of 5,800. If I zoom out a little bit, we can see we've got a massive gap here to be gaming. So as soon as we drop below this level, we are most likely looking at moving much lower than that. So you know, definitely things to be looking out for. There is a possibility that we can bounce off this range. You know, like I said, we have been testing this area quite a lot. I want to throw on the inverse chart and show you guys what's up with that, because you guys know I've been looking at that a little bit. Wrong chart, where is it? Yeah, so, and bring my drawings back on. I mean, you know, if we look at the inverse chart, you see that one of the big things to pick up on in this kind of a range is that when we're testing a level over and over, it actually gets weaker. Some may say that it gets stronger as we go on, but I personally wouldn't say that's the case. What you want to do in this kind of a, you know, when you're looking at this, is establish what the trend is. The trend is, I think, quite clearly down. You can't really deny that. You get a few consolidation patterns, but then you continue on downwards, a rising wedge, downwards. And yeah, so this is just another very typical rising wedge within the overall trend for Bitcoin. And so, of course, you could argue that it's being rejected by this line many times, and then actually continuing on lower, which does indicate to us that, you know, it's still very much within this uptrend. Of course, my long-term bullish outlook, my very long-term bullish outlook for Bitcoin has not changed. It's still this case of, yeah, we've got a rising wedge in this chart, and of course a falling wedge on the regular linear chart. And what that tells us is, yeah, we are going to resume this downtrend, and of course in real price terms that means we're going to end up going down once again. I mean, all of it really does bank on this sort of 6,000, 5,800 support line, or in this case sort of resistance. Everything is dependent on what we're seeing with this kind of price action. Of course, if it does rise above this line, then yeah, that does indicate to us that we can actually continue on much higher, because this sort of resistance level will be broken. It could act as support moving forward after that. Now, if we throw on indicators, I mean, really what we've got a few EMAs and things to look at. Really what it's become now is resistance. We've fallen right through the daily EMA. Like I said, the crossovers don't mean anything. We have the 4-hour chart as well, giving us a bit of resistance a little bit higher. Of course, like I said, we did have these crossovers. We had some bullish crossovers here acting as support a little bit as well. It hasn't been great lately, so you've not seen me use the EMAs much as well, as much as it hurts me to say. You guys know how much I love these, but you know, when it's not reliable, we have to change up how we play this. So unfortunately, I guess right now, for the time being, we're not going to be looking at this very much. Now, one thing to note, I think it's quite interesting, our 4-hour Ichimoku cloud is actually showing us that we have a bit of a launch pad here. You know, we've used it before as a launch pad back here, where I signaled a long in VIP as well. Actually, I signaled a buy over here and a long slightly higher. We used it as a launch pad here. We dropped below the Ichimoku cloud. We traded sideways for a little bit and then went up into the cloud and then just, you know, blasted up high from there. it's still possible we can do the same thing here. I mean, we're nearly at the same price range anyway. What could happen here is we go sideways a little bit, potentially range higher, and then once we get into this cloud, it helps us, you know, pump higher and get a very nice, big, sort of explosive move up. Chances of that, let's be honest, they're quite slim. You know, if we look at volume, nothing is telling us a clearer picture than this, I think. Volume is still very much siding with the bears, like I said, with the institutional investors and traders, and also retail. You know, we got a bit of capitulation here. Obviously, the sell-off was arguably from whales trying to drive the price higher to fill in shorts, and then obviously short the market down to hell. But very much so within this sort of ride down, there was also capitulation, and I think once we drop, if we drop below a level like 5,800, we're going to get a lot more of that. You know, bear in mind, there's still no catalyst within sights in this market. We have the SIBO futures, SIBO ETF. I forgot the name of it, from the SEC, potentially an approval there, rejection or delay. We don't know yet, around the 29th of September. That is still quite a long way away. That's still more than 20 days away, and even one day, as we've shown quite clearly, one day is a very long time in crypto in itself. And so if we're looking at what's going to happen 20 days in the future, I just don't even think it's worth, it's not even worth thinking about what could happen, because so much can change. You'll just be wasting your time, and so that is why I trade these sort of, what happens within the next sort of 12 to 36, 72 hours sort of time frames. That's kind of what we can game with Bitcoin, just because it moves so. Bitcoin dumped as hard as my girlfriend dumped me. Yeah, and that's because we can game this quite easily. As for that, really not too much more to update on. Has Bitcoin failed its final chance? Well, actually, I don't even think this was a chance for Bitcoin. There is no point within this rising wedge where I started to think that maybe it's the start of a new uptrend. You could possibly say that it was a chance, and yes, in that case, of course, it has very firmly failed its final chance. The chances we get even like a V-shaped correction from here and move upwards are extremely, extremely slim, unless we get some sort of black swan event, which of course no one can predict, where we get a massive sort of $1,000, $2,000 green candle in 1 minute, like we had back in April over here. Something a little bit like this black swan event, no one would have predicted it. Unless we get something like that, I just don't see us rising back even into the high 6,000s. I just think there's too much selling pressure right now. Potentially a retrace, up to 6,800. Kind of going back on what I just said a few seconds ago, retracing up to about 6,800, definitely possible. Of course, one thing I want to note is that in my previous stream, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the live stream or if this was a VIP stream, but we do have our 618 support right here. We're quite close to it. We've actually broken down a little bit, but this entire range does act as support, potentially using 786. We've already wicked down to 786 and then gone a little bit higher from there. Definitely what we can be seeing is around about this area with all of the support. It's no surprise we're going sideways in this range. I mean, this was a huge area of trading back in August. It's definitely possible that around this price range we can find some sort of support and then carry on higher. Like I said, that would mean the uptrend is still intact. The chances of that, though, I think are quite slim. Just because we have so much volume backing this sell-off, we're still in a downtrend. I mean, all the indicators are telling us that we're still about to encounter a lot of resistance, and this area will put up a bit of a fight. Definitely, I think we're going to be here for just a little bit, really not too long. The selling momentum is way too high, but going sideways a little bit and then continuing on downwards, I definitely think that's probably the most likely thing that we can see. As for that, though, I have pretty much covered everything I need to. I'm very short on time today, so I unfortunately can't go through questions. But with that, I'm going to be heading off. I really hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Of course, make sure to like this video if you have enjoyed it. Subscribe, tick the bell, join the Telegram channel if you haven't already. You get a little bit of my TA, and of course, if you want everything, you can join the VIP channel as well. You already know how to do that. But with that, I'm out. Peace.